Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. So we're doing a book review for part 2 of Identity Switch by Adrianna Mason, Transitioning into Womanhood. Now, it's been a minute and I hadn't forgot. I did the video. I thought I had it scheduled. I thought everything was good. And then a whole bunch of other stuff started going on. And when I looked back just to see, the statistics and how the video was doing, nothing happened. The video was, I don't know what happened. I don't know if it cut off while I was doing it. The sound, something was going on with the sound. I didn't schedule it. It was a lot. So today I'm about to bust out maybe like 3 videos in the same. I'm about to sit here and do 3 videos in the same outfit, the same hairstyle, the same everything. I'm about to just get it all out the way, schedule them so I can continue with being consistent. It's not as easy as it looks. You're like, oh, I want to make content and this is going to be so fun. And it's, fun isn't the word is what I'll say. But so we left off at Adrianna being divorced by the age 25. She was divorced and she went into the marriage. She talked about how she went into the marriage with 1 kid and she came out with 3. And she was, a little upset and frustrated because, how did I get myself in this position? And she mentioned how the reason why it's important to be with the right partner is because a lot of us are raised or, we don't desire to have children on a wedlock, right? So we get married to have things like a family and children and a foundation and a legacy and all those different things. But if you're with the wrong person, you're not going to get that. You're just going to be left with the residue of the family, the legacy, you know what I mean? Like the things that you were going for. Like you're not gonna actually accomplish those things. So she spoke on that, like, wow, dang, like I was going for this and that, that's why I sat there and had these babies. And, that's why I have 3 kids now. And I didn't even get that because I picked the wrong person. So I thought that was very interesting. And then it leads us to her next chapter which is becoming aware, right? And she talks about having self-awareness, asking yourself those hard questions. She had to think about how did she get herself in a situation? What was it like? Where was her mindset and what was she aiming for when she got married and had those children, even though things wasn't likely, you know what I mean? And things wasn't going the way she envisioned them to when it came to her having a family and having children and, being married and all that. She, within that self-awareness, she discovered that she needed to create boundaries, that she didn't have any boundaries. Everything was just, which like most of us, right? Because I think it's normal for us to, we learn the importance. I was just having this conversation last night. We learn the importance of boundaries. We learn from people who have boundaries, right? Or from people who walk all over and cross all the lines of our boundaries. We learn the importance of being selfish from a selfish person, right? You tend to see and learn from a selfish person that, for one, it's important what it looks like, and that sometimes it's important. Like, I've gotten a little frustrated with people before for being selfish, but then when I thought about it, I was like, man, if you didn't put yourself first, you would be last. So, okay, I found that I need a balance. Like we need balance for everything, including our selfishness, including our boundaries, including our goals and legacy and the things that we envision for our future. Like, we need a balance across the board, just throughout life, period. She talked about finding your peace and putting your peace first, because I was saying that after she had got divorced, so I was saying in the last videos, after she got divorced, she turned her whole house around. You know what I mean? Like, she redecorated, she filled it up with the things that, you know, made her heart warm and her heart soft and made her excited coming home, even though it wasn't the ideal situation to come home to, which was, you know, now a divorced woman with 3 kids, you know, so she had to like shift the environment and shift the energy. So when she did come home to her new surroundings, that it wasn't dark and draining, and you know what I mean? So you have to be aware of what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Like, sometimes you have to create the feeling of wholeness and the feeling of content, of being content and being, you know, of acceptance. Sometimes you have to create that feeling for yourself, so you can start your mind and your thoughts and your, you know, everything about you can start to embody that feeling of, you know what, things didn't work out like I wanted to, but it's gonna be okay. This is not what I imagined for my life, but you know what? This is where I am, and I'm gonna make the best of it. Like, that's how you find your peace in situations that are not ideal. She talks about, in this chapter of becoming aware, how she was tracking her progress through journaling. So and it's crazy, my journal is actually sitting right here. I journal a lot, and one of the things that I just found, and you see it's just a regular composition book. They said, I've learned recently, I've seen on a podcast, someone mentioned that you should go back in your journal, like at the end of the year, or maybe at the end of the journal, because I journal every day, sometimes 2 to 3 times a day. So this little journal won't last me for a year. It'll probably last a couple of months or so, like maybe 2.5 to 3 months, or maybe not even that. I'm not even sure. What was my first one? Oh, well, this one actually goes to January, and it's April now. So, okay. So it'll be a couple of months. I'm almost done, though. So maybe about the 6-month mark. But someone was saying that you should go back in your journal and read through, you know what I mean, the entries that you put in there to see where you were mentally, to see, you know, what has shifted and what has changed, to see where you were versus where you are now. And, you know, and when you have that when you see that progression for yourself, you're able to track how far you've come, right? Because sometimes we forget. We're just on the go, and we're busy just, okay, I'm trying to feel better, I'm trying to get to this goal, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that we forget to stop and pat ourselves on the back. We forget to stop and say, you know what? You're doing great. Like, you've come a long way. Like, you were in this state 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and now you're completely different. You had this mindset a few months ago or last year, and now you're thinking completely different, which is resulting in a totally different reality, which is awesome. Like, you want to acknowledge that. You want to pay attention to that, because that's how you keep the momentum. That's how you keep going and keep pushing and keep fighting, because you're gonna have more dark and heavy and unfulfilling days. And you have to remember, you know what? I've been here before and I got through it, so I'll do it. I'll get through it again. And that keeps you going. And that keeps you fighting. Also, she was saying, this is the one that I think women, we should do more of. And that's hold ourselves accountable. Right? So she talks about with holding herself accountable, that she went into this marriage and in this situation not with bad intentions, but with the wrong intentions. And I'm gonna actually get exactly what she said. Because I thought it was intense. So I'm gonna start right here. The goal isn't to go down memory lane and beat ourselves up. It's to think about things that have presented themselves in our lives and figure out why we may have allowed certain behaviors and how to make sure we are seeing the errors and fixing them in the future. The whole reason we are reflecting is not to be focused on the past, but the future. There isn't any other way to become prepared for our future than to examine the past. There's no way around it. Most people wait until a new year approach to reflect on their past life. And while the idea of that is nice, I was never someone who wanted to wait until a new year to start making changes in my life. So when you hold yourself accountable, you're able to look at your mistakes from a different lens, right? You're able to look at them, correct, see where you went wrong, correct them, and then if that situation or problem ever was to present itself again, you'll know how to move or how to shift out of that, situation, right? You'll know how to, so you don't keep hitting the same wall. Eventually, you want to learn how to go through life, and when things happen, you have different outcomes, because sometimes it might be the same type of situation or it might be the same type of scenario, but when you handle it different, you're going to get totally different results, if that makes sense. So holding yourself accountable is extremely important. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but it's very important. And then the questions that she has at the end of this chapter of becoming aware is, am I in tune with myself? Am I able to use discernment? Do I believe in myself? Am I okay with saying no? Do I practice self-love? It's like I've said before, these questions are very deep. Like, I love how she asks, questions for us to reflect on after every chapter. Like, that is an amazing aspect that, they have in this identity switch series that they have going on. The next chapter, being intentional, she talks about how having a why to every move you make is very important, right? And I'm going to go back because her realizing that is important, because she mentioned how that if she would have had a why, like a solid why to why she was getting married and what family meant to her and what she wanted, she would have noticed when things wasn't going well, she would have been able to stop it. You know what I mean? Like, she would have been able to halt and maybe, shift some things, change gears. Hey, let's come up with a better way for this to happen, for this to work. But when you don't have a why, or you don't have a reason, or you don't have a destination, you tend to just keep going and going. And all you're doing is walking in the blind. You walking with a blindfold on. So now everything is just happening around you. Like, you're just letting things happen and things are just going on and everything is kind of in a chaos because essentially you're walking in the blind. You don't have a clear vision, a clear goal, a clear direction of what you're doing, because when you do, you're able to say, hey, this don't feel right. This is not what, like me, for example, I do not play. Like, I'll be like, hey, I don't like the way this feels. I don't like the way this looks. I don't like the way, I don't like none of this. Like, we stop the press. This is how and I don't expect things to look exactly how I imagine or how I think they should, or, in my dreams and my whatever, but I know what I don't want to look like, and it needs to be as close as I envision, or better. It needs to be close or better. If it's far off, that's not it. That's the indication that you need to reel some things back in, period. And that comes to knowing your why for every move you make. Comes with home, work, love life, your personal life, your fitness, everything. No matter what it is, you need to know your why. Also, being intentional is following the desires of your heart, right? Which leads to your purpose. That's how you find your purpose. They always say, if you find something that you love, so you never have to work a day in your life, right? So think about the thing that you enjoy doing the most, that brings you joy. that brings you peace, that brings you happiness. And in today's world, you can pretty much try to figure out, and as a woman, once you start tapping into your femininity, you can pretty much create and make money out of anything at this point. Like, if you are paying attention to everyone out here that's selling things, like, you could literally find being intentional is directly correlated to finding your purpose. And finding your purpose is pursuing the desires of your heart, whatever that may be. Like for me, for example, these videos, me sharing my journey and the things that are working for me, and the alignment that I'm, getting right now, and the different things that I'm discovering. Like the thing that I love and bring me the most joy is sharing my heart and my peace, and the things that has worked for me and has changed my entire life. I enjoy that. I really I enjoy sharing that with people that are in the same position that I've been in already. I'm like, oh girl, let me tell you how you can make that better. I love that. Like, absolutely. On all my social medias, I post quotes every day. I post videos. I post clips that are inspiring, and that I feel like we all are going through the same emotions and the same different and the same things, but just in different situations. It's coming from different situations, but it's the same emotions, the same heaviness, the same confusion, the same anxiety. It's just happening different ways. So there's a way to tackle all those feelings though: anxiety, frustration, confusion, darkness, whatever. Like, there's ways to, the different situations put you in those different feelings, but there's specific ways to tackle all those feelings, right? Is something that I've learned. Also, becoming intentional, she got to know herself. It's very important that you have deal breakers and you know your core needs. You know what you need for people, because you have to be able to convey that to a person. You have to be able to tell them what you need. You have to be able to tell them what you don't like. Because if not, it's like, essentially you breaking your own heart. It's not them. Like, they can't read your mind. All they can do is, when you set out what it is that you want and don't want, they either abide or they don't. And when they do, you move forward. And when they don't, you need to pull back a little bit and assess the situation. Like, yo, hey, I said that I didn't like that, and you did that. So what are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like, we as women, I think all of us, we have a very, very bad habit of lying to ourselves. I had to come to that conclusion with myself. Like, Malaysia, I was telling my therapist last week, I was like, girl, I will lie to myself so fast. Because when I want something, that's what I want. I don't want to hear no for an answer. I don't want it to be a bad outcome. I don't want to live without that thing. So I found myself, I will lie to myself as much as I need to, as deeply as I need to get what it is that I want in the moment. And I had to decide and really look at, like, Malaysia, is what you want worth the pain that comes with you turning a blind eye to the truth? And when I broke it down like that, and literally, you have to break down every little thing. To be intentional, you gotta break it all the way down to the smallest molecule, because when I started to do that, I started to see how I was more of the problem than anybody else around me. I used to think it was everybody else. It was me. Because at the end of the day, I got the most power and control. I can voice my boundaries. I can walk away if they're not met. I can, reinforce them. I can control my environment and my peace, I can control my environment and I create my peace. Like, it was more me, because I wasn't doing none of those things. I wasn't creating peace. I wasn't controlling my environment. I wasn't setting boundaries. I wasn't, telling myself the truth so I can get out of certain situations that wasn't fulfilling me in any kind of way. So getting to know yourself and leads to you also standing up for yourself and advocating for yourself. All of this falls under being intentional. And being intentional leads to alignment, right? Which is her next chapter. Each chapter, they just perfectly flows into each other. Like, I appreciate everything is it's connected, right? Becoming aware made her find intentions. Being intentional, it took her into alignment, and then alignment is where she finally, the last chapter, becomes a woman, right? But let's go into becoming aligned. She talks about how choosing from a whole and healed space is part of alignment. And that's where you become whole and healed from being intentional and being aware, right? Because intentional, you finding your purpose, you're following the desires of your heart, you're becoming aware, you're creating boundaries, and you're finding peace. So that's how you are able to become whole and healed, and you're able to make decisions from that space instead of a broken, traumatic, unfulfilled space. Becoming aligned, you're forced to face yourself and face your fears, right? Something that I've learned recently is that when you face your fears, there's nothing to be scared of anymore. And once you become fearless, you become unstoppable. I want you to think about that. I want you to remember that. Once you stop being afraid, you become unstoppable. Because now, when things start to come to you, and when it's time to make certain moves, you're not thinking twice. You're going straight for the kill. You're going straight for what it is that you want. You're not backing down. You're at it full throttle. And when you give something your all, your results will come from that. Whether it's experience or it's an ace in the hole. So think about all the times where you faced your fears or you did something that, you probably was a little apprehensive. You probably was a little unsure, a little uneasy. Think about how after you did it, how the relief came over your body. And you was just like, wow, what was I afraid of? Why was I so scared to do that? That was, not that that was nothing, but that was easier than I thought, right? Don't be afraid to say what you want. Because either a person is for you or they not. And guess what's something I had to learn? Everybody isn't gonna be your cup of tea. Just like you won't be everyone's cup of tea. So when you tell someone what you want and they don't want to do that and they don't check that box for you, if that box is important to you, then that's not the person. You got to keep moseying on along. And that's the importance of being whole and healed too, because a lot of our decisions come from loneliness. Your greatest superpower is learning how to be alone with yourself and deal with yourself. Because when you overcome self, you can overcome anything. Literally. When you understand yourself, when you understand your own human behavior, when you understand your own human thoughts, when you understand and able to give yourself grace for your mistakes and your shortcomings, you'll learn how to do that with other people. You'll see a person act in a certain way and you'll be able to identify exactly where that's coming from, and you'll be able to give them grace. You'll be able to love them through that because you've loved yourself through that same thing. You know what to do in that instance. Hopefully that makes sense, because I just said that and I'm talking to myself as I just said that. Literally, people don't treat us no better than they treat themselves, and that goes for us. If you treat yourself like crap, you're gonna treat other people like crap, even if you don't mean to. I'm not saying you're a crap person, but that's just how it goes. So practice on facing yourself and giving yourself grace and becoming healed and holding yourself accountable and learning from your mistakes, because that's how you become understanding to other people's shortcomings. Lean on your wisdom and intuition. She also talks about becoming aligned. That's learning from your mistakes. Learning from, if you know this ain't a good situation, and you know, a lot of times you gotta think ahead. You gotta think about, like, you know what could come from this? Like, sometimes you have to, and I know they say be present, get out the past, get out the future, blah, blah. But when it comes to decisions that you can't take back or that can affect the rest of your life, like a partner, like a family, like a business in some cases, you have to look at, okay, where could this end? Based on how they are, based on how I am, whatever, based on this situation, you gotta weigh those pros and cons. And if it's more cons, you have to address those cons and figure out, hey, how can we eliminate some of these and turn them into pros and, meet in the middle? Or you have to walk away from that situation. You have to be wise. You have to trust your gut. You got to learn to trust yourself and know that if you do walk away from something, that you walk into something better. That way you can stand 10 toes down and keep it pushing, no matter what you're walking away from. I don't care what it is. I'm gonna be all right. I trust that I'm gonna be all right. I trust in my ability. I trust in the work that I've done. I trust in my skills. I trust in my purpose. I trust in my accountability. I trust in everything that I got. That's how firm you have to be when you're in alignment, because that's how alignment works. It goes in with manifestation and meditation and the law of attraction. Like, all of these things are interconnected. In becoming aligned, you also always put yourself in position to win, right? Here, she talks about how she signed up for a dating site after 2 years of being divorced. After she did all this work, she did all that, she's like, okay, I'm ready. Took accountability. I seen where I did wrong. I see where I lack boundaries. I seen what I need. I seen what's important to me. I know how to speak up for myself now. How to do this and how to do that. Okay. Let me present this new person to the dating market, right? And she actually said, I had 3 kids and all I met was men that will take care of me and my kids. Men with kids, men without kids, young men, older men. Like, it was just a plethora of men. But you know what it is? Men are not running from women with kids. That's not what it is. Men are running from damaged, unaccountable, miserable women. Entitled women. That's what men are shying from. Not from single moms. Or women that are over 35 and all these things that the red pill, whatever you want to call that community is saying. It's not that. It's the entitlement, the not holding yourself accountable, the lack of boundaries, the disrespect. A lot of women don't respect men in no capacity. That's what these men don't want. Period. When you become aligned, you learn that outside things like you having a house and you know, you paying your own bills and you having degrees and you having these things doesn't matter. Who are you? Are you kind? Are you loving? Are you agreeable? What's my dad always say? Are you agreeable? I would be like, what? He's like, yeah, don't no man want to have to tug of war everything I say. You challenging everything I say. It's an argument. If I say left, you say right. If I say up, you say down. Like, if I say left, let's just go left. And if it ain't right, okay, cool. We can turn around and go right. Like, we don't have to go, like, come on. I was like, Like, who are you? Not what you got, girl. So that's how a man can go get with the bummiest, with a girl that makes minimum wage. Because she's agreeable. She's pleasant. She's peaceful. Not that she's a pushover and she can walk over. No, it's the fact that she's agreeable. Now, granted, some gonna be a little vulnerable and a little like inexperienced. So, you know, that works in a man's favor. But for the most part, it's really it's not a tug of war. It's more of that. The advantage is the fact that they are inexperienced and don't know. You know what I mean? So depending on the man, he could very much so take advantage of that. The questions that she asks about being aligned. 104? Those questions? 104? I knew that wasn't right. I was like, what? That wasn't right. 1 second. Sorry. Being aligned. Okay. Okay, here we go. Sorry. Have I released my past? Am I able to receive wisdom? Am I ready to find my purpose? Am I capable of realigning? Is fear a hindrance in my life? Just saying, these questions is deep. I ain't gonna hold you. Then lastly, she goes into becoming a woman. And she talks about that once you get here to this transition into womanhood, it comes with a lot of trial and error. It's more mentality based, which is faith, alignment, and wisdom. Other things too, but for example, faith, alignment, and wisdom. Women are creator of results. Actually, I want to read that because I was like, ooh, girl. Ooh, okay. I heard that. I said, oh, well, excuse me, Miss Ma'am. I remember the last page. As you grow, hold on. Where is it? Dang, it said women. Becoming aligned, becoming a woman. Oh no, I had just sent it. I thought I was gonna go right to it, but I guess not. Well, she said that I abbreviated what she said. I wanted to read it because I was like, dang. No, you did. Oh, I'm looking in the wrong spot. That's what's going on. Remember, girls create problems and limitations. Women create results. That was right before the questions. That's the last part of the chapter, before the bonus chapter. And I was like, girl, okay, I heard that. And also as a woman, you make solid decisions and you're goal oriented. Because when you, like I said, when you have goals and you have a direction, you're able to, you have more data collected to where you can get to these solid decisions. You can be sure, and you can follow your gut. You can follow your wisdom. You can use discernment. You have to work these muscles. It's just like going to the gym. You got to work these muscles and build them up so you can lean on your own understanding. So you can know that this is a good decision because I know that I'm wise. I've learned from my mistakes. I've done the work. I've held myself accountable. I know where I fall short. I know my weaknesses. I know my strengths. I know when to fall back. I know when to stand tall and stand up. I know all these things. And then she ends this chapter with questions such as, am I the toxic person in my life? What kind of trial and error have I overcome? Have I been putting limitations on myself? And have I let others dictate my life? And then she ends with a bonus chapter, which is very short. She just talks about what she's going to talk about in her next book, and just she hoped that she helped us, and different things like that. But identity switch, transition into womanhood, phenomenal. 2 thumbs up. That's hilarious. Sorry, but 2 thumbs up. Read it. It's a short read, only 103 pages. So read it. If you enjoyed this review, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Which the next one is Win Your Inner Battles by Darius Forux. Forous. Already got the notes and already ready to go. Actually, the book is here. Here's the next book that I'll be reviewing. Win Your Inner Battles. See you at the next one.